ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Shock horror for anyone?
Totally shocked. Completely unexpected, and it cannot be true because all the fanboys online tell me that AI makes us more intelligent.
DocuSign is probably one of the biggest e-signature companies in the globe. And there's a company that is threatened legal action against called Springtime, which was built using Swedish AI-powered app builder Lovable. By the way, DocuSign is valued at $15 billion and wants to take a legal case against them.
I'm actually walking through a Cuby build right now. So you see all these interior walls behind me. We have everything laid out right now. Before, about 12 hours ago, maybe like 16 hours ago, there were no interior walls at all. This was all laid out by a couple of a construction crew that has effectively never done construction before in the last 16 hours. And they effectively laid out an entire house.
Wow. Bytes, how has you been? Is that a statement? Is that a word? Is that correct English? I'm asking a German and a Polish person.
How have you been? Or no, how has you been?
I would just say to the British person, yes, my lord.
And I would say, you're welcome, my lady.
I thought my leash or something like that.
Okay.
Martin, what is that background? Are you in a seaside town?
So, yeah, I'm holidaying with my parents a bit. So we are in Alicante. I don't know if you can see or cannot see. Yeah,
what's the temperature? Like 50?
Oh, beautiful. It's 30, 32 probably Celsius.
Man, you must be racking up the air miles these days. Your backdrop is nearly different every week.
Yeah, that's what I've worked all my life for.
I always know how to get an awkward response out of you. We have no Dustin today, but we have a interesting conversation lined up with more than just us here. So coming a bit later, we'll have Alex from Cuby, and we can discuss what's going on there and perhaps a rather large event that will be occurring tomorrow, Friday, which involves Bricks and Bytes and Cuby, which we're super excited for. And then in about 45 minutes or so, we'll have Shub, who's coming. And Patric, I think he's going to give an update on APAC, is he?
If you ask him, he will. I don't think he knows yet. So
that's surprising. We'll just go quiet when he comes then.
Yeah, sure. But we'll have Altaf too from SnapTrue.
Exactly. So Altaf will join shortly after, and we will be discussing. Well, SnapTrue just have a major new product launch, which they announced yesterday. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that. But before then, we're going to jump into a couple of things. One, and I know we have discussed this a few times, so I thought it'd be an interesting thing to chat about briefly, was about this new study that came out about ChatGPT may be eroding critical thinking skills, according to a new MIT study. So here is the first paragraph. It says, the study divided 54 subjects, 18 to 39-year-olds from the Boston area into 3 groups and asked them to write several SAT essays using OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google search engine, and nothing at all, respectively. Researchers used an EEG to record the writer's brain activity across 32 regions and found that of the 3 groups, ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with each subsequent essay, often resulting to copy and paste by the end of the study. Shock horror for anyone?
Totally shocked. Completely unexpected, and it cannot be true because all the fanboys online tell me that AI makes us more intelligent. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, but no, this doesn't shock me at all. How about you guys?
I think when thinking about this, like when I was at school, primary school, we didn't have actually computers. I think we started getting computers maybe out just when we were graduating from primary school. So, and it didn't have much of a difference, I guess at the time, with no internet or just internet very rarely occurring in the households. So I think generation after me, I'm 34 years old now, with the access to the internet has already changed the way they think and the way their brains probably develop. Now on the next level, AI kind of level, I just don't know how these people will grow and how they will develop for humans. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think there's.
I actually think that we have a great benefit of being educated back in the days and now using it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to be a little bit careful with that, because I remember when AI first started coming out, and we often heard this argument when we were chatting to people about, well, people went crazy when the calculator came out, and everyone thought that everyone was going to get dumber then. So maybe it won't, maybe it will has such a large impact on the way we think and do things.
You have 2 kids. What's your view?
Yeah,
like, tell us the real stuff.
Well, luckily I have not had to come head to head with it yet, but it is in the back of my mind, and it is a concern. Like when you get homework, for example, like any kid is just gonna, like, you're always looking for ways to cheat on your homework. It's not the right thing to do. Obviously, you're just a kid and you don't want to do what you have been told to do, rather than thinking about the educational aspect and benefit of it. So 100% they will just go straight onto ChatGPT, probably just take a picture of the homework on their iPhone, upload the image to ChatGPT, and it will just give them all the answers, and voila. But I'm probably not the best person to answer, but I'm sure the people who make these education laws and whatnot up have a lot to think about here. But from a personal perspective, even just usage of AI, I definitely noticed even maybe more even recent than that, 3 to 4 months, like excessive use of AI for, like, not everything, but way more than perhaps I should have. And I'm now under my own personal kind of control to not use it, and only use it once I've done the hard work myself. Well, not even the hard work, but like the heavy work, thinking more deeply and actually using my brain rather than just using all of the AI's ideas.
I want to do a thought experiment with you guys. So I'm painting a Squid Games episode right now. Sorry, not Squid Games. What's it? Is it Black Mirror? Yeah. Where every episode is like a utopian. So let's play a Black Mirror episode just for the sake of this thought experiment. So in this Black Mirror episode, let's say everyone in the world is offered the ability to consume a drug, and that drug gives everyone the same supernatural abilities, beyond what your body would typically be capable of. I mean, we call pervitin, for example, but in a less harmful way. So you have access to all of that, and you can choose to use it. Probably a vast majority of population would use it, yeah, and they would probably, be good while they're on it. But the downside is you have muscle atrophy. So because actually the muscles would be asked to do less in this metaphor, in this thought experiment, you're paying for it by actually letting your body do less. So the output while you're on it is higher. The fundamental ability to live without it is lower. Here's the thought experiment. In that world, what do you think is happening to society and mankind if a subset of the population is now resisting to use the drug and is actually investing in itself? Will that be a more equal society or a more elitist society? I'm wondering what you think.
So I think that this leads to more like differences between people, because there will be people who are, the majority will probably be using it, the crowd will be using it, and very small numbers of people wouldn't be using it. So that it's more it's diversified the bottom part and the top part, or even bigger magnitude. So yeah, I think that's what I think.
The question is whether you think it would be better for society.
Yeah, will it be more equal or more elite?
More elite.
Yeah, I think more elite. I think it will just exaggerate actually what already exists within like society. Of you have elite, like elitism, and then you have people at the bottom. And I think that divide will
you know, we actually live in that Black Mirror episode. I don't know if everybody out there realizes that, but it's called fast food. It's actually called very cheap, poor processed food that everybody has more access to. I mean, not that it isn't expensive, it is, but not everybody can actually go and have healthy food, especially not in high cost countries like the United States, except those that actually have the education to care about nutrition and perhaps have access to the time to prepare meals, etc., etc. In my opinion, we're living in it in every aspect of society today, and AI is no different. It's a drug that leads to muscle atrophy.
I agree.
My personal opinion.
I agree. It's like actually mortgages are similar example, but completely different. So
I did not expect that out of all responses.
People, that's an interesting analogy, I know, but people can now take mortgages and get a house that they can barely afford, and keep paying with 40% of their salaries on mortgages while pretending to be happy, rather than creating something meaningful for themselves, perhaps, or and having enough buying power to buy the house. Perhaps it's obviously not as simple as I said, but I think this is similar an analogy.
No, I think the metaphor you're pointing out is the dependency aspect, right? So becoming dependent on something rather than having the fundamental physique to actually whatever deal with it. So that's how I'm hearing your metaphor.
I actually saw this thing. Last point on this. Before we'll stay on some AI stuff, which is funny as well, but we'll get there. But one thing I saw was that this person, this was on X, had uploaded a picture of themselves and their mother, but their mother had passed away, and AI was actually able to not bring them back to life, but show perhaps how the woman, the mother was like interacting and talking and whatnot. And then people were talking about how if something like this continues, like eventually that you'll be able to almost recreate dead people, and we will just end up getting stuck in this world where you're just ended up communicating with people that you have lost, and you will just become so out of touch with reality, and it would all cause all sorts of like mental issues, because part of the reason you miss someone so much when they die is because obviously you can never interact with them again. But then suddenly you're being promised this opportunity, like how much
for only $35 a month.
That's a brain fuck.
Yeah. Maybe that is a Black Mirror episode already. Actually, I don't know. Not seen them all.
I've not watched that. I need to look at it.
No, it's not. Well, perhaps you're Black Mirror, but I don't know if it's a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. Is it not the truth then that the more advanced technologically we are, the more scope for weird behaviors we as society have, and there will be people that will follow this like a weird, are not detached from reality activities?
I don't know. You could talk about drugs in the 60s and 70s, huh? Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we could now have a long definition debate about what is weird and how you define weird, etc.
Mine's weird.
I don't know.
No,
but I think there are objective ways to define this, right? So, for me, it's muscle atrophy. And if someone tells me we're becoming more intelligent because AI, I have yet to hear a compelling argument and hear the MIT study. I think there's more science to be done here, and it was certainly a little bit more short-term, a little bit smaller sample, but it is still, this is not pseudoscience, it's actual science. I think it is suggesting the opposite of what my intuition has been telling me for 4 years. So
here we go. Yeah. Similar thread, a similar point here. DocuSign threatens legal action against copycat app built with Lovable. So everyone must know what DocuSign is. Probably one of the biggest e-signature companies in the globe. And there's a company that is threatened legal action against called Springtime which was built using Swedish AI-powered app builder Lovable. By the way, DocuSign is valued at $15 billion and wants to take a legal case against them. I think the discussion point here is, I'm interested in your views. Patric, you go first, but I think that we'll probably see a lot more of this happening as these app builders become more. But go on, you say.
I remember seeing last year Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of, I think at the time it was still called Google, not Alphabet. And he was standing in front of a classroom at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
And he was advocating live. He didn't know he was on camera, but he was advocating live for build your company in AI, copy everything, steal everything, and by the time they sue you, you will be bigger than them in order to win in front of court. It's literally the message that Eric Schmidt sent there. So my reaction to this is a reaction of purely ethics and morale. And if Lovable, whatever, was trained on DocuSign source code, for me, that would be unacceptable.
Is it considered illegal? Is it considered illegal?
No, I'm purely on an ethics and morality. Let's say grounding right now. I'll leave you to explore the other layers that you could have to this. But I don't think that's what Lovable did. But maybe that's the underlying LLM that Lovable is based on. That Lovable wraps and uses. Maybe that was trained on said source code. Maybe not. But I think that for me would be a fundamental question countering the business and life advice that Eric Schmidt was offering there. I fundamentally disagree. I think someone that says that is a fucking crook and belongs into prison. And look up the video; it's verbatim online.
So I'm not debating here the morality and what he said because I haven't seen it, but I actually would love to disagree in terms of the subject here because I think if someone thinks that they built something and they own the space and there is no one there to conquer the space again, with perhaps by cutting their profit margins, I think this is first step to
monopolies
to the collapse, right? If people think this way. So for the fourth quarter ending April 30th, DocuSign net profit margin was 36.5%. Let's say it. Yeah. So this I understand that this is 36% of a cash that they have in the bank, right?
It is the profit of 36% on every dollar of revenue.
Okay, so that means there is so much of a profit margin that someone can cut into, and obviously, if it's done legally and not stealing, I think everyone can have a right to.
So help me out here, Martin, because I'm sensing inconsistency between the episodes here on your positions. Okay, so let me tease you a little bit. Mm-hmm. 2 points. One, aren't you the person advocating that it should be innovation that leads to cost deflation? And two, when you make that argument, it sounds to me awfully close to let's not protect property, let's redistribute property.
So, I guess right now, Lovable can create these companies because of LLMs and AI, and it's much simpler. So the cost of the creation of the business, multi-billion-dollar pound business, it just collapsed probably because of the AI and technology improvement. Yeah, and I believe that's what's happening. There is this Chamat's company, one of those called 8090. What they're doing there is they trying to provide 80% of functionality of particular app within 90% cost collapse, thanks to AI. And I fully subscribe to it. I really like the idea, because if companies have such a large profit margins, that means that there is lots of opportunities for others.
Man, I always had you pegged as center-right, and now you're making a total left-wing argument.
Why? Where is the left wing here?
No, this is redistribution of property in the end. You're saying, hey, property doesn't deserve to be protected, especially not intellectual property, if someone can steal it and rebuild it in order to capture profit margin.
My first sentence was that I'm not commenting on the ethical aspect, and I believe it's all, you can't steal things, okay? That's for sure. But what I can't agree with, if someone creates a thing, so it's like Autodesk, for example, they would say, oh, you cannot right now create any authoring tools because we've created one 35 years ago, and no one can tap the space anymore. Kind of similar thing. No,
but you're allowed to. I mean, it's just difficult to compete with them, but you're not allowed to rebuild Revit and call it Rovit and now go to customers.
Okay, so I don't know actually what the details of this are. Are the details that they change the name slightly, or?
Nah, they threatened a lawsuit. I mean, it's probably not uncommon, like where people build similar things, and someone sends them a letter that says, "What they call it, like season to sit." I can't remember the exact term.
Don't get me wrong, Patrick. I'm 100% right side of all equations. But I believe that competition is something that keep people on toes, and obviously running large businesses like these DocuSigns, they would love to have no competition. But if the cost to create something similar to what they've done is right now much less than it was 5-10 years ago, then they should be worried probably.
I think it's I don't buy your argument. I mean, the metaphor, and Martin, you invest in real estate, right? And so you become a mogul yourself, which by the way, I think is very smart in a post-AI world. But apart from that, in your world, Martin, the equivalent would be a squatter coming into your house, into your multifamily house, and saying, well, Martin already has enough profit. Who is he to define that I shouldn't be able to take a slice out of this property? So ergo, I'm going to squat here. He makes too fat margins. He should be able to live with this. I don't know if you would like that. This is protection or redistribution of property.
So what's the end game for, like, how can you then compete if you are DocuSigns? So if you are small companies or startups and you're trying to tackle the space, like how?
Well, you have to,
as I said,
again, follow an organic path, huh? Just start.
Yeah, but I'm not saying steal anything. I'm not saying steal anything. Like how people can compete if they can't just, if right now the technology has improved so much, they can build things much quicker and faster, then I actually think that things are becoming commodities right now. These software companies, that are becoming commodities because it's much easier to create copycats of them, and that's what's going to happen. More and more.
But then you got to also think of why does there certain large supermarkets, certainly over here in the UK, I don't know the same thing over in Germany, but that have a complete, there's like 4 or 5, and it will pretty much always be that way. And whilst people try and copy them and create little ones or sell little things, I don't think they're ever going to really get up to the level of where these companies are.
With the real estate, Patrick, is actually, I think, slightly differently, because with technology, well, this is actually very interesting, because in construction or real estate technology, the progress is so slow, and it is has always been outpaced with the inflation growth. So it is more and more expensive to build new stuff, whereas in software, it is cheaper and cheaper to build new stuff. Yeah, which is actually interesting thing to think about. So, yeah, I like real estate because it's.
I know, but both are property, man. Both are property. If your brand is your property, also nobody should be allowed to just basically take your brand and pretend it's their own. So why pretend property in some parts and say, oh, but other property is not worth protecting? It must be redistributed.
Hey, we got Alex here. Hey, Alex. Oh,
Alex.
Oh,
Hey,
I got the friends here. What's going on? How are you
how's
guys?
it going, man?
Hey, is that a
Patric,
bathrobe you have on there? A Cuby bathrobe?
No, it's like a sweater. One of our investors got it for us. It's not bad. It's not
Nice.
soft. It's soft. I gotta
right.
send you guys a bunch. I like the mustache.
Thank you, sir.
It's very Top Gun of you.
Dude, can you read mine? Because Martin was asking me in the pre-briefing, hey, what made you do it? And I said, actually, I don't know. Oh no, actually, I know. I was rewatching Rooster on Top Gun Maverick, and I think that was the trigger.
Listen, you gotta be very aggressive to do good contact deals. You know. This is how you negotiate better valuations.
You got to stand up, brother.
It's the new. It's the evolution of an investor, huh? You did like year.
That's
what are you
right.
now, Patrick? Year 7, 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less to say, more here. You know.
Hey, we should
Fair enough.
have done this call in with a Cuby jacket on. Because I know, Alex, you've been investing in some swag.
I gotta send. We didn't invest in it. Our investor was nice enough to gift it to us because he calls us the cockroach. We're very cheap. So we refused to get swag. So he was very, very nice, and his team was very nice in making us some cool stuff.
Why does he call you cockroach? What do you mean by you are very cheap and what?
Capital efficient. So
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a compliment.
yeah, it's definitely a compliment, I think, in our world.
I mean, if your investor was calling you a cockroach and it wasn't a compliment, I would be a little bit saddened by that, I think.
Yeah, no, it's like an inside joke. It's in good heart.
So,
By the way, guys, someone is watching us. My wife just messaged me, looking cute on your live.
hey, Rashmita.
Amazing.
Hey, Alex, are you
We
looking
got
forward
somebody.
to your Oscar nomination after tomorrow? The AEC Oscar
no.
nomination, or you could be in the top 10 actors turned founders of the AEC industry.
I don't think so. I think amongst my friend community, at least, people say that I mess up accents like no tomorrow and can't act. So I don't think that's me. But the episode did come out great. I think shows a lot for what you guys can do. And I think it's cool for the world to see when people are building, real world stuff. I think it could, maybe inspire folks to build more. I think it came out good. I liked it.
I would agree. How much?
I don't know, Patrick, have you watched it yet?
So let's. I have peeked at it, and I do want to comment, but let's just for everyone's benefit. What are we talking about right now, so that everybody knows what we're teasing here?
Hey, Danny. By the way, Danny is now chief of staff of Cuby. Welcome, and he's joined from a construction site. But Patrick, we're talking about the Cuby and Bricks and Bytes documentary that will be released tomorrow, 27th of June, and I sent you a sneak preview.
You did, and I peeked at it, and I gotta say, guys, I think this is actual peak television. I'm serious about it. I think the quality came out. It came out TV documentary. Perfection.
That means a lot. It's all Martin and Owen.
It's
Not
peak.
really.
Absolute peak TV. I think this is something that everybody should mark in their calendars and set aside some time for one of these next weekends and actually get in front of it and watch. It's so content rich and yet fun and high quality to watch. It's, in my opinion, the best piece of media that ever came out in contact. I seriously.
Wow, thank you.
Wow, that's some serious. We call you the content king.
Yeah.
Now the Top Gun king, but yeah.
That's right, Rooster, man.
Exactly. That means a lot. Thank you.
Hey, just so people know, I think in the end we ended up getting around probably 6 hours of videos and stuff to put in there, which we had to distill to 44 minutes in the end, which was insanely difficult, but we did it. So this is
Well, we've spent a lot of time with Patrick. We met him a bit further down our journey relative to where he typically has an entry point into companies, but he can attest to the fact that what we do is hard to talk about. It's a lot easier to show, and I think this was a good way to show everything we've done over the last year or two since we've continuously talked. So we're excited about it. Appreciate that you guys are doing it, promoted it, etc. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more other companies that you'll end up doing in this fashion and this style. So I think it'll be awesome.
yeah. Yeah, we got some.
Yeah, that was also such a big like learning curve for us. Going there, being there,
We
seeing
now
how it all
going
works.
to go on Lovable and build a AI copy of Cuby. So thanks.
No, that doesn't work in the real stuff. In the digital stuff, maybe, but in the real stuff, no.
By the way, we were just talking
So,
about that right before you joined, so you wouldn't have got that bit.
Martin, you went to go visit Eastern Europe about a month ago, right? Since then, we started a build recently, and Danny actually is, he's based in New York usually, but he's spent the last month basically winging Oleg and everything that he does and all the engineers, etc. And this house, he's right now living for the next week near the site, and he's been physically getting his hands dirty and putting it together.
Nice.
Danny, by definition, I can attest to you, is not skilled labor. Danny's a very, very good engineer who sits behind the computer for the last 10 years. But he's been putting together a house. And Danny, maybe you can show the interior walls. When 12 hours ago, there was nothing.
This is a harassment lawsuit coming your way, Alex, calling your colleague not skilled worker. Okay, Danny, over to you.
And in Eastern Europe, it's just having a chat.
No,
so don't worry.
Danny is like Danny's a gift from heaven. He's like I'm so pumped about hiring Danny.
I thought from New York.
He's trying to reverse it now.
No,
Danny,
seriously,
take over.
Yeah.
You got it.
Patric's about to get me fired.
Oh yeah. I'm actually walking through a Cuby build right now. So you see all these interior walls behind me. We have everything laid out right now. Before, about 12 hours ago, maybe like 16 hours ago, there were no interior walls at all. This was all laid out by a couple of a construction crew that has effectively never done construction before in the last 16 hours. And they effectively laid out an entire house.
Wow.
And a lot of it has to do with how everything is made kind of ready to go from the MMF. So, for example, like these like OSB panels you see right behind me, they're already CNC'd and have a designated location within the actual floor plan. So when they're getting a pack of material, they scan a QR code, they know exactly where the part is going, where the piece is going. There's not really any thinking that has to go into it. It's effectively doing, and with the entire system, it's so easy to lay out. So now they're actually working on HVAC systems. So right behind me, I wish you guys did this in a better app that let me flip my camera, but they're starting to do a HVAC. We got a couple guys in the ceiling right now. They're laying everything out, and it's moving.
So you said
it's
these are
really
not small homes,
exciting to see.
16 hours?
These are not small homes.
What was that?
These are not small homes. What's the size of this one?
No, it's huge, and actually, for a matter of fact, it's the location of this place is kind of insane. So right now, I just stepped out onto the back terrace. It's beautiful out, and this is the view out of the back terrace.
I think your internet's good.
That's why you're losing your Wi-Fi.
Kind of.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So, Danny, I think what would be cool to show is we treat everything like lean manufacturing principles. So if what always surprises me, and I've been on a lot of construction sites in the US, it's very messy and dirty. And Martin, Owen, you guys know this. Patric, you know this. Danny, is there a way to flip the camera? I mean, it's really clean. We keep everything very, very clean. It's like a factory.
I don't think he can. He's because on the Riverside app, by the way.
Oh, got it. And it's mostly because we already have all the tools and toolboxes and sets of equipment required to assemble those kit of parts at any stage on site. So we can clean up basically Oleg gets a report end of day of a cleaned up site. Every tool is back to its Kanban and its placeholder, etc.
Love it.
It's brilliant. Quite interesting.
Love it. Do you pre-pack tooling for the site as well, and in containers, etc.?
Danny, don't talk about it too much because you're not. We're in the middle of filing something.
Well, I'm nodding.
Yeah.
So if my camera was flipped right now, I'd be going against Alex's wishes. But I'm looking at something just gorgeous. This is every contractor's basically wet dream. It's this is like the most beautiful like tool setup. Everything that I'm looking at right now is exhaustive of everything that was used to assemble this home. It's
America's largest home
things
builder
I've
watching
seen.
right now will zoom into your reflective sunglasses now and will try to reverse engineer what it is you're looking at.
We don't listen. IP is one thing, right? Another thing is actually moving fast and being on offense the whole time. So that matters more. We happen to do that really well, just given the engineering workhorse engine that we have. But look, I think what's important and what Danny's trying to describe is we really try to do the end to end. And Patric, you did a fun post today in humanoids, right? Point solutions are awesome. They solve one thing, but we think fundamentally what makes what we do interesting is a combination of these incremental pieces that form the vertical of doing the end to end.
But Alex, IP is one thing, but you can't do what you guys do just from the garage. This like 400,000 hours, engineering hours, or whatever
690
number.
now, as of last month.
Do you have a
whatever
ticker
it
in your
is,
office?
then you can't just.
No, it's a Google sheet.
Yeah, you can't fake it up. It's not about software. Well, it is about people trying things, and also obviously writing the code, etc. But it's not a pure software play. There is lots of tangible stuff that needs to be tested, checked. So you can't collapse this time that quickly, I think.
No.
Yeah, it's a hard problem. Luckily, Oleg has to deal with it. Me less so.
You can't replicate this. Hey, Danny, did you say that was done in 16 hours where you are now?
Yeah, so not the entire home, everything on the interior. So the entire layout, all the interior walls of the OSB, we still have a little bit to go for the second side, but all of the tracks were shot, both floor and ceiling. All the panels were put up. All of the insulation, kind of the whole nine, didn't exist here 16 hours ago.
Wow.
We don't do a close-ended panel because it would step on toes of inspectors and regulation. So that's one of our big principles, as you know, is to be code compliant in any market we go into, tap into the existing inspection process, which happens, anywhere from 5 to 12 times in a given build across, starting foundation all the way to rough ends and finishes, etc. So we try not to do anything that's close-ended.
And this house will be finished in 30 days. Yeah. Completely?
No, we're not at the ones that we do ourselves. We're not at 30 days is when we have a mobile microfactory nearby. But right now our current builds are a lot about experimentation, perfecting the software, the process, the tools, the kit of parts. So we take a bit longer. This one I think will be done in 3 months.
Very good.
So it's getting to the finish line already.
Pretty cool.
I actually, guys, thank you for having me on. On that note, I'm gonna hop off. As effectively the chief of stuff, I have a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Danny.
Good luck, Danny. Good luck upgrading to skilled.
Oh, I'm working on it. That's the next stage. Thank you, guys.
Good luck, man.
I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hey, Alex, do you have another 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Do we want to go into this what we're missing about building exceptional companies, Patric?
Yeah, sure, we can.
Go for it.
So you want me to give like a
what's the
key message here? So I've been running some math, guys, right? And so Six Sigma methodology, 3.4 million outlier parts, 3.4 parts per million as outliers, and you want to minimize them. Alex, you were talking about lean. Six Sigma is an adjacent or an adjacency to it, but that's what you try to do, right? So get to as close as 3.4 per million. Oh, is that in the book there?
Incredible algorithm?
Innovation algorithm?
It's Triz by Altshuler.
What's the book?
There you go, right? And so if you apply the same logic, 3.4 per million, just to the universe of businesses, we have about 330 million to 350 million registered businesses all around the world. You get about 1,100 outlier companies, 3.4 per million. Interestingly, the threshold at which the 1,100 sit at the top in terms of market cap is 10 billion. Slightly higher, actually, it's 12 to 13. but let's say 10. 10 is that magic number that venture likes to use these days. Oh, it needs to be a decacorn potential, etc. Decacorn is our jargon for 10 billion valuation. So 1100, it's 1150, roughly is where these outlier companies today accumulate in terms of market cap. You guys have read it, but still I'm going to play the game here. How many of those are actually venture-backed and how many of those are traditional businesses not venture-backed? What do you guys think?
I think majority not venture-backed and more legacy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I haven't seen the answer.
Maybe take a guess, Alex.
Out of like percentage-wise?
Yeah.
I would say 80% not venture-backed, maybe higher.
I was going to go less, actually, like less than 5%.
Less than 5% venture-backed or not venture-backed?
Venture-backed.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Martin, you?
The other 95 not backed, 5 backed.
Yeah, Martin is the one who read it. So it is actually 100 decacorns over the last 20 years. Some of them even lost the status, so I've graciously included those. So we have more than about 1,050 of the 1150 outlier companies are traditional companies that were not venture-backed in the last 20 to 25 years. And yet I find it fascinating that we as a venture community, I'm guilty of it, obsess about, hey, can we please pump more money into the next AI, the next software, the next marketplace, the next this and that, because we're trying to be number 101. You know what, guys? We should stop trying to be number 101. We should just try to rebuild the other 1,050, which have not been touched. And here's my final plea. That sounds counterintuitive to a lot of people because, oh, why should I try to rebuild Coca-Cola or BMW, such an amazing company? You know, NASA really knows how to launch rockets. It's already happening, guys. It's already happening. We have SpaceX, we have Anduril, we have BYD from China, etc. And coincidentally, the biggest unaddressed economy, part of our economy, is the project economy, construction, infrastructure, renovation. I would count aerospace into the shipbuilding, into the project economy. And there's so many legacy decacorn companies in there that you can truly rebuild. So my plea to all of us is do what Cuby does, build new capacity in a demand overhang market like ours, which is the project economy. We're entering the most booming and most ambitious construction era of mankind, but we lack capacity, guys. So why would you want to compete with 10 million competitors that all use Lovable to squeeze out another % of efficiency to hope to build one of these 5%, rather than building new capacity in the other 95% of the market in the project economy? That's what I'm here to do, and I hope you guys can somehow rationalize what I'm saying here. But I'm pretty excited and pretty stoked when I realize that.
So I echo all of that, and I first came across this actually, and I have to give credit to 50 Years. Do you know that team? Seth Bannon, early stage deep tech fund. They put out this thing where they've ranked basically to show people like software. People think it's such a big space, but the amount of venture that has gone into software relative to how big the industry is like insane. But then they've ranked they did this index. It was a really cool index. It was what are the biggest industries with the least amount of funding, and they inverse ranked it. Yep. It's things like construction, education, like trash removal, like things like that. And people are missing it. You could be the big dog in that space where you have no competitors. Yeah. It's quite interesting. And then the other folks probably to give credit to, and I've seen now a couple spin-offs of venture decks of this, is, Packy McCormick, he wrote a really good 4-part series calling it Vertical Integrators, because what essentially you're describing is taking on legacy industries. You have to be a vertical integrator, not just some little horizontal layer. And that's where the new breed of these companies that ultimately every VC wants to back and have in their portfolio will be, but a lot are cowards and will not do it. So I echo that and agree, but that 50 Years index is really cool to look at which industries are in that.
It's really, sorry guys, before you go, I just want to quickly react, Alex, to what you're saying. It's a mix of funny and sad. So one of the world's most known VC brands, one of the general partners, recently reached out to us and said, hey, can you guys educate me? I'm just not excited about construction, and I don't understand construction tech, and I don't understand how someone can build a 10 billion business in there and why I should spend my time with it. So it's almost, so that partner already formulated it in a way where they are like, hey, I don't get excited about it, but perhaps I'm missing something. Can you help me educate? And that person then went on and the next week announced a fundraise on the 5th global remittance fintech from America to India. And I was like, okay, I don't think I will be able to convince you. If you think your calling is to find a decacorn in the 5th copy and paste remittance business globally, but you can't sit down with yourself and actually understand the capacity problems that we have in 25 to 40% of the world economy, which is the project economy. It's, I like it. Less competition.
All someone has to do is listen to one of Apollo's infrastructure fund calls and look at some of the slides and numbers they put out of like, hey, here's where we're going to put dollars into infrastructure. If you just, the actual dollars that you see on their slides, it's like hard to fathom. So if the point of a startup is to be able to pivot 50 times and still have a successful outcome, you do that in large enough industries where you can actually do that, not hyper niches.
And also the world geopolitically seems to be aligning towards this this way of maybe not on the software and the AI side, that's all going a little bit crazy, but definitely from people investing more into defense and whatnot.
Well, Patric probably has a good take on this, just given a lot of his LP base are folks whose P&Ls are actually billions of dollars a year. And it's real cash, real revenue, like real folks, and have done, those LPs have been doing it probably for decades. So you see the consistency and you see the dollar volume, and it's like a little easier to understand. But my guess is when someone doesn't understand that or see that, it becomes intangible.
20% EBITDA margin, billions of free cash flow every year, but let's chase the 5% of the 100 decacorns.
But I guess these businesses are not software businesses. They are tangible businesses producing real stuff for construction.
Yeah, you do need to build supply. You need to build capacity.
But now you're getting into the topic of like venture fund model being broken, right? When you have billions of dollars of AUM, you kind of have to also deploy a lot of dollars and chase everything. Like it's more like this is probably a deeper discussion, right?
It is.
I think
and before sorry, I just have to watch. Sorry, Martin, go on.
I was just going to say that I think it's truly difficult to build such a big outcomes in construction, especially within software.
Yes.
That's why we don't have that many companies.
That's what we're paid to do as a venture community. That's what the founders are here when they raise venture money. They need to do it to produce an outlier. It's very expensive rocket fuel. And the managers of the rocket fuel, like myself, that's what we get paid for. So it doesn't mean that the other businesses, the other 330 million aren't worth building. They are. It's just that there's a mismatch to this kind of capital and this kind of dedication. And so why would you, I just fundamentally don't understand it. Why would someone claim I'm the best and biggest brand in VC? I don't get excited about construction and the project economy. I prefer to back the 5th global remittance company that I think can take another 0.1% of global financial streams, hopefully, and yet call themselves best and greatest if they can't do the homework of what this economy actually produces. I find that hilarious, to be honest.
On this,
I think there's also there's an inflection point coming soon, though. I think, and we're seeing it today. I think companies, and I can only speak for ourselves, like ours, that have physical components to them will get access to less dilutive, less expensive capital. As soon as that happens, this makes this much more interesting. So I think that will be an inflection point of people waking up and saying, wait, you can use venture early on to get through R&D, and then you don't have to use venture to keep growing in a very effective, high margin, huge volume way. And that will get venture excited. Yeah. Which is how those businesses that you're quoting, that 90% that have been around for decades have grown, not via venture.
Issue a damn bond.
Of capital.
Yeah, issue a damn bond at 7%, done. 1 billion cash in the bank, let's grow.
Patric, on
right.
your... Sorry.
No, sorry, Martin.
On to your point, I think investors would go for what they know, and construction. We are all kind of biased, so it's difficult to have a conversation with everyone who is biased towards construction about why people who are not in construction, especially investors, wouldn't invest in construction, because we don't know exactly how they're thinking about it. But I would bet that they would go for easiest, much more simpler industries, rather than something that they have no idea how to tackle.
Play it
really.
safe.
So
I think you're right, but that's a job failed. That for me, that's a fireable offense.
And that's not the idea of venture, huh? That goes against what the whole premise of venture is.
But
there's a fun analogy coming to my mind. When I was still an executive in large corporates, in corporates, I mean, if you never worked in them, it's unbelievable how many management consultants you would have in a large corporate. It's ridiculous. You know, people getting paid to outsource the work to an external consultant. It's ridiculous the degree at which it happens. And then Aldi, you guys know Aldi,
yeah.
right? So they're in all the country. Yeah. So very, 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 very frugal. Billionaire family that built Aldi into the German family, actually, that built them into this conglomerate. Aldi has no management consultants. And if you're a manager in Aldi, exactly. If you're a manager in Aldi suggesting to hire a management consultant, they will already tell you, hey, there's the door. Because they actually pay people to think and do and not to delegate that. So I think it's the same thing, you know, with investors. You need to think and do and be at the forefront. But if you want to just make your life very easy by doing the same thing again or having someone else do it, I think you shouldn't be done doing the job.
You want me to give you a real estate analogy to that, Patric?
Please.
So,
we love real estate. Go for it.
Brokers. It's a very low entry field, meaning low barrier to entry. Therefore, you have a gamut of folks. Most brokers are really crappy, not helpful, useless, really. And then the top 10% are really good, passionate, dedicated, amazing at their job.
And millionaires.
Venture is very similar.
Yeah.
There's what does Cambridge Associates show? There's several, there's like a couple thousand venture funds.
Easily.
What's the bell curve on returns, right? It's like a tail like this. There's like the very few that capture all their, So
that's right.
That's the reason.
Alex, I know you got to hop, but we have one comment here on LinkedIn from Michael Cummings, super at Anderson Construction. He's asking, what are the Cuby walls made of and how is the MEP planned?
Ooh.
Yeah. So
do you wanna call Oleg?
No. We essentially, there's a couple of nuances to our house if we're going to differentiate it from like a production home builder that everyone understands. So let's start with that as a baseline. The only two differences in our homes, I would say, is we use steel and rivets. So we use steel tubes and rivets to connect the structural framing of the house. And we enclose the house. So the envelope enclosure is a form of a sandwich panel, which is basically two steel coils uncoiled, glued together to EPS that forms the envelope of the house. The interior walls are just light gauge steel with wool rock and OSB and sheetrock on top. For our MEP, we'll pre-cut, for example, PEX pipes in the factory, which is down the street or we try to be within a 150-mile radius. We'll basically prep a lot of the MEP, but it's not hiding behind the wall because, again, we don't have a close-ended wall panel. We don't believe in that system. So it's done on site, but it's done in a way that software enables unskilled labor to do it well. It's done in a way that doesn't require, let's say, a skilled plumber. That being said, we still are required to carry specialty licenses because we are the GC, we're the sub, we're the manufacturer next door.
And I would just add that the structure is nicely hidden behind the insulation envelope, so it's properly done from building physics point of view.
You passed.
Martin approved.
You passed the structural engineer's test.
Awesome,
All right,
guys.
Alex.
Thank you so much. Chubb, on to you.
Ciao for now.
Alex, good luck
See you
with
guys.
Cuby. You guys are doing something awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate all the kind words.
Check out the
and you guys are
documentary
friends,
tomorrow.
so see you guys.
You learn everything there is to know.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Shub.
Hello.
Hey guys.
What brings you here?
How are you? What brings you
I just thought I'll just waltz right in because that's what I do.
Hey, remember that time where we done the podcast with you and Altaf was speaking, and you like knocked over your can of drink, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
you was like, yeah, that's what VCs do. We just like get no attention or something. So
That was
just,
so funny, actually.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I think Patric's quite used to me normalizing all these things.
Yeah. Create a big mess and then leave the room. Is that what you're saying?
Create a big mess and then say that that's what VCs do.
figure it out. Hey, Shub, what's happening in the well, I think that we didn't have
As an acronym.
APAC. I'm not very good with these regions. It's like every week I hear a new one, and I haven't quite memorized these yet. So, what's happening in the world of APAC? Is that right? APAC.
APAC.
There we go.
What's happening in the world of APAC?
From construction technology point of view, and maybe some economy as well, broadly speaking.
Oh man, I really wish I could be a macroeconomist, but I feel like every time Patric and I have these chats, I feel like okay,
we can talk about test cricket if you want.
Oh yeah, do you mean the first test or the world test, the finals? Okay, never mind. I think we're losing Patric already. But what I was saying was, whenever I talk with Patric about macroeconomic stuff, I think I always make this observation that, hey, you just tune in to CNBC any day and look at what macroeconomists say and the predictions they make for the next month. You can rest assured it'll always be the opposite, by the way. So I definitely wouldn't call myself a macroeconomist, if nothing else, just for self-respect reasons.
Ray Dalio. According to Dalio, we're on the 10th recession since 2015.
Yeah.
You might upset
actually ordered his book.
That. Yeah.
I think it's coming. It's coming this week. Why countries go broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you guys been getting on with this recession, the 10th recession? Still living?
Are you sure it's a recession?
I mean, what's the definition of recession? Because if the inflation numbers are high, then the numbers will never show you, if you manipulate them correctly, that you are negative GDP in the last 2 quarters or whatever, right? If you manipulate, because the technical definition of the recession is 2 negative quarters of the GDP. Yeah, that's
but
what they say.
In real GDP, you wouldn't see the inflation.
I think the number that's officially reported, it's the real GDP growth. But I mean,
real?
It's the real GDP growth.
Adjusted for inflation.
Correct. So the nominal one would then be real plus inflation.
Who is adjusting it? Because the bucket has been changing. I've heard since they invented the term of the, what is it called? Not ICP.
You've been listening to too many founders.
I don't know. I mean, look at the German stock market, man. You don't get an impression of any recession over here.
I mean, I think Germany technically is in a recession, a very slight recession. But look, I think all these things, there's also lots of levers available. If you increase public spending a little bit, then it'll no longer be in a recession. I think even what was earlier reported as US economy, I think decreasing 0.3% or whatever. I think even that
last quarter.
I would say even that, if you actually look at the numbers, you'll realize it's not really a reduction in economy. It's just the way they measure it.
Yeah. Did Japan actually technically leave? Yeah, like decades of recession, or did we not define Japan's last 3 decades as a recession?
Japan was in a stagflation, also deflation, and then I guess you could call it recession as well. It's just been sideways for more than 30 years.
So,
by the way, it's also true for the UK, just FYI.
I know, but my point is, right, so Japan is now on the up. Germany is now on the up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. They have officially basically left the trough of the last 3 decades.
They are all catching up with India and Poland.
Catching up with India will be difficult. I think that one is a monumental task. As you know, we're very long India.
Shub,
I think
so. Shub, what is contact in India like currently?
I mean, good companies keep coming up. I mean, look, that's so macro question, guys. I don't know. I feel like I don't know which direction to go in to answer that question.
What is the next cloud manufacturer that excites you, and what is the next robotics company that excites you?
Because those are the only two kinds of companies
that excite you. Yeah.
Actually, I think there's more and more, believe it or not, legit AI autonomy-based applications, I think, coming out of India, which all, by the way, target the US or the Western world in general. I think more and more of these kinds of things are coming up. Can I say credibly that they're operating at scale with proven unit economics? No, but I think there's interesting pockets there.
This is AI within
Are they selling
construction?
to?
Yeah.
Like what?
Are they selling to internal market or outside?
You just said US.
Yeah, mostly targeting
okay.
US to the Western world. Also, I mean, I don't want to take the name of the company, but Patric knows this. Even I think so. Not I'm going away from AI, by the way. Using new supply chain models to solve very pressing infrastructure problems in the Western world. I think there's some interesting companies doing that as well.
So, Shub, on the AI side, is this from like a design perspective, or like more operational, or even during construction, or something else?
Yeah, so operational, thinking of new age ERPs, thinking of new age services firms, also robots and the like. But made for the Western world, from India, for example.
Sounds exciting.
Are you guys spending money, investing, or have you invested in India recently? What's the?
I mean, look, when you phrase it like that, I think the answer to all those questions / statements is yes. So yes is the answer.
Martin, in case you don't notice, Shub has a deal in the pipeline that he signed a term sheet for, and he's really trying hard not to tell you about it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that.
Shub, what about MENA? People really are interested in what's going on in Saudi, UAE in terms of contact. What's your impressions lately?
So look, I think it's a very interesting market in terms of if you just define it as the amount of spend on construction and construction related activities and the rate at which it's been growing over the last few years, and the willingness to spend on technology solutions. I think if you define it across these vectors, it's actually one of the most exciting markets out there if you take a very top down view.
It's a very small market, though, no?
Actually, not necessarily. You might be surprised. You might be surprised because I think there's this concept which I think is unique to the GCC in particular, which is a subset of the MENA, which is where the concept of mega projects comes from. And I think it's pretty much the only part of the world where that term is regularly used. I mean, it's not uncommon for single projects to be worth hundreds of billions. I mean, I'm not going to get into NEOM, etc., because I think that will start us on a different direction. But there's quite a few projects which are in the hundreds of billions of dollars, because there's lots of discussions, real as well as rhetoric, I suppose, where these economies are under pressure to switch away from oil and have a more diversified economy, and infrastructure building is one way of getting there. I think the interesting dynamic there, which represents a challenge for new companies, is how do you tap into this demand coming at the level of a sovereign state, where a sovereign state is ready to soak up so much demand for new technology as a new startup, which is where I think there's a problem. And there's a few dynamics around what or which geographies they prefer their technology providers to come from, right? Which unfortunately creates a bias, which is not, by the way, always it's not always in favors the home companies either. So that those are the other unique dynamics to consider. But keeping it in mind, I think it has very interesting and unique dynamics in terms of the activity happening there. It has those interesting dynamics of being, I guess, fast-growing market, which a few years ago used to be considered an emerging market, is no longer an emerging market. It's a high-income market, but where labor still has low-cost aspects, and there's high technology, high willingness to adopt technology. I think these are very unique intersection patterns.
I'm very curious to find out. I guess we will find out how this time recession-proof is this region. It proven not to be previously, with like lots of capital running away around 2009.
I'm curious, when you say this time, are you referring to?
I'm thinking that everything goes in cycles, some sort of cycles. Since, let's say, like a real estate collapse over there in around 2000, I think 8, 9, 10.
Yes.
Until I think 2013.
Absolutely right. You nailed it.
How, like, there was lots of people that literally ran away, or lots of capital that ran away from there. How it is going to be this time if things turn slightly south in the global economy?
Yeah, I mean, look, do you want the formal narrative or
real?
We only want the VC propaganda, Shub.
The VC propaganda.
Well, that's what we got from you. Let's get some real stuff from Shub.
Yeah. I mean, look, so the narrative goes that in 2008 to 14, so I don't know if you guys were tracking oil prices back then. I think the high oil price, and by the way, I know this because back then I was in the oil industry myself. So the 2008 oil price peak, it's still not ever been matched yet to this day.
Oh, right? Wow.
So what happened was, and all these economies, obviously at that time, and still are, but back then even more, they were much more dependent on oil, which is something Altaf wasn't expecting to hear when he joined us. I'll keep the thought. So in 2008, these economies were all in on oil. And oil was at its peak price. I think it was something like $120 per barrel, or maybe much more than that, actually. Or maybe actually probably much higher than that. And there was this great recession, oil prices tanked, etc., etc. And I think it took a huge chunk out of interest in that the economies of that part of the world. Now, the belief is that with all the infrastructure, all the tourism, all the financial institutions, etc., that have been created in that part of the world over the last, say, 4 or 5 years, a major recession or a trough in oil prices will not have that big of a hit. I think we'll have to see. I would like to believe the hit will not be as severe, but I think the truth still is these economies are still very dependent on oil. It's the reality has still not fundamentally changed that significantly.
Okay,
yeah, time will tell for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, Altaf.
What about outdooring tools?
Yeah, congratulations.
Hey, data is the new oil, huh?
Yeah, what a segue.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a crazy couple of days, like really excited for the launch to finally go out. We've been speaking about it for a while. We did a video together as well.
Yeah, we did.
Good to see. Tell us more. What was the release yesterday? Seems like you guys have been doing a huge bang.
Yeah, so this is, I think, we were always a design authoring tool, but I think this transforms us into a proper workflow solution for early stage design. So if you want to make early stage design profitable, you have to use SnapTrue. So it's going to be that obvious with what we released yesterday.
You know, one thing I learned as a phrase, which I don't know how clued in you guys are to the new kinds of lingo going around, but I learned it fairly recently, of what is called as vibe coding. Are you guys familiar with this?
Vibe? I'm going to kill you with a meme in a minute.
Or white coding. Vibe coding.
Vibe coding.
Vibe coding.
Vibe coding.
Yeah, vibe coding, where I think it goes like, hey, you just are in a mood to do something fun, and you just code up an app by yourself, or something of that sort. So a project. You just design a project, you code an app, etc., using new age AI tools. And when I was going through, what Altaf's been building, the latest launch, I was like, hey, I think architects can now claim to, vibe build or vibe design.
Oh, yes. You need to own that term. Here you go, Altaf.
Yeah. At the end of the day, design is all about vibes, right? Like how you make people feel and how you feel about it.
That's true.
I actually think that you should seriously consider owning the vibe designing term. That would like almost be a viral
just buy the domain
effect.
Just book it
yeah,
now.
and then redirect straight to SnapTrue, www.vibedesign.com. Redirection to SnapTrue.com. Gosh. Hey, if you need...
And now time for our sponsor.
Yeah, if you want some free marketing advice, we're here for the next
Squarespace.
So Altaf, tell us about the evolution. We discussed this with you a few weeks ago of SnapTrue. You're now in V3, is that right?
Yes. So the journey of SnapTrue has been like, it's an authoring tool, right? So there's a lot of foundations that you need to build before you start building stuff which is customer facing. And that was version 1, which is just making sure that the foundations work. And the second version, which was, where do we start? What problem do we solve for the customer? And we picked early stage design. And the main reason for early stage design was, surprisingly, it's the least profitable, if not unprofitable phase of the design process. Most of the architects actually make money doing drawings and less money making design, which is actually like their main task. That's what they bring to a building. Counterintuitive. So we said, like, that's a perfect place, which is so messy, unprofitable, and that's where most of the impactful decisions are made for a building. Like, that's where you decide the square footage, how the form looks like, how the building looks like. And the V2 was just trying to solve it. And that has evolved into this completion, which we shipped yesterday, enabling people to go from idea, the vibe of what they want to build, to a complete design package in as fastest time possible that they could do.
Within the early stage design?
Within the early stage design, yes.
And what I particularly loved was I saw this let's say diagram or something from Martin Day. Martin Day is would you say journalist or editor or some sort for and owns AEC Mag. And he had compared the tools for which are in a similar space to SnapTrue, like I mean, find the graph, you'll find the names of them. And SnapTrue seemed to have correct the term here maybe, but the leading position in most of the areas within the design, all the way from initial concept through to construction.
Yeah, I think the comprehensiveness is a point that SnapTrue really brings front. So at the end of the day, what is the designer trying to do? Get the job done, right? What is their job? Convince the client that this is a great idea and iterating through the idea. And that spans across early stage design till construction. And that's how we have thought about it. And that's why we are way broader than existing tools. Again, we have had a huge head start. We have had a great team. We have always, since beginning, since 2018, always thought about the full stack, not trying to build a point solution here, but actually modernizing the entire stack, which has been stale for 25 years now. So just that thinking is just coming to life right now. And that's what Martin, in a way, captures it in that one diagram. And also has written an article about a release. And you can see, like, he talks very clearly about how SnapTrue is the most comprehensive out there. And customers are also seeing it. They're deploying it today to do this.
Altaf, can tell us what is the outcome of the early stage design? Is it presentation, or is it images, or 2D drawings, elevations? And how is it currently done? And how are you doing it differently? So is the outcome the same, or are you providing slightly different outcome, or are you just collapsing the time? I'm just saying just, but that's how I said it. Or are you collapsing the time to get to the outcome?
I think it's less about just like, is there images or is there, I think it's more about the evolution of an idea, right? Design is you have an idea for this site or a building, and you need to make decisions about it. So early stage design means different to different people in all of these offices that you work with and also across geographies. In very simple way, whatever it would take for you as a designer to convince your customer to freeze on these decisions is the package that you deliver. And we enable you to just get to those answers as fast as possible. So for example, you have an idea that this building has to be facing the beach. It's in California. So this is an idea which you have. Now you have to translate it. Does it work in this site? You can sit and take a tracing paper and sketch it out. That's like very old way to do it. Or open up Revit, 15 minutes later, it opens and then you start drawing it. Or you could just like ask SnapTrue, give me a quick representation of how it looks like when it's facing the beach and how is it looking like in terms of my requirements. Is it satisfying my requirements? How is the climate responding? How does it fit into the zoning code and the building code of this local California laws if it is on the beach in California? All of these decisions will help you prove a point to your customer. Hey, I have validated this design, it works. Today that takes weeks, if not months. What if you could do it in hours or days? And that's what we have enabled.
So the outcome is the same, but the time to get to it is collapsed. That's my take.
Exactly. Making iterations faster.
Shub, do you have any subjects you want to cover with Altaf?
Altaf, there's so much. I feel like you're substantially underselling SnapTrue, man. Come on, give us more. So V3 is revolutionary. It's a leap. It's not a small step. So you have spreadsheet functionality in there. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about the new AI things that you guys have
I feel like I'm the better hype man for you when I said it's vibe design and vibe build. There's so many things that go into a vibe design, vibe build, which by the way, all exist now in SnapTrue.
Yeah, I always like the product to take the center stage because I think no words can do justice than actual substance. But let me try and describe it. So at the end of the day, as I said, like designing is about taking decisions. And these decisions today do not just happen in one software. They happen in like files and tools like spreadsheets to begin with, 2 design tools, 2 Miro, which is a collaboration board, 2 Bluebeam, 2 like another 5 tools that I'll mention for visualization, rendering, etc. The problem is every time you have an idea to change something in your design, you have to go and update all of these 8, 10 different things. And then you have to bring everybody on the same page. Hey, are you referring to the same PDF? Hey, are you referring to the same rendering which I said? And then on top of that, you need data to validate if your intuitive decisions are correct or not. Is changing the shape of this building meeting the climate requirement or not? All of this again, like, are you referring to the right file to do the validation? That is what SnapTrue really consolidates, which is connecting the tools that you need right from spreadsheet where you start putting your requirements in. Yeah, what are you building? How many bed hospital do you need? What goes into a hospital? All of those requirements are still tabular in nature. How do you convert then this tabular information into design and start making sense of it geometrically? And that's where the vibe designing starts converting your thoughts or requirements into some things that make sense. And then when you have to present it to your customer, because the customers needs to see some pretty graphics, you can start creating diagrams automatically. You can start creating renders automatically. You can, and everything is telling the same page. Now clients comes back and says, hey, great thing. I just won another investor. So our budget has increased by 30%. So we can spend 30% more on the project. Very quickly, you can change the requirements. Your design can get updated. Your renderings can get updated. Your diagrams can get updated. And without having to spend another 3 months. And that can happen the other way as well. You have 30% of the budget can also be slashed. And you're now wondering, what should I cut in this entire project to still make it work? All of this chain is translated in a few clicks.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So you're allowing architects, creators doing more significant, meaningful work, and just rather than writing long emails and attaching a lot of things and referencing a lot of things. Yeah, that's what I'm
not
looking
drawing lines or
forward
typing
to.
things on an Excel. Exactly. Do vibe stuff, because that's what you bring to the table.
Yeah, this is part of the problem in like design space, when sometimes for larger projects, when we get involved, is just so much of management of this project, making sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone has got the same drawing, there's constant communication and tracking. The tracking is a problem, actually. How do we know that everyone is on the same page? That's the issue.
And too many decision makers, right? Like, we are not just like looking at building a small house, right? Where the decision maker is a family. When you actually are doing a hospital, which is funded by government, like public projects, there's literally a committee, a board. Everybody brings their perspective from a customer standpoint. Then there is an architecture firm who has to convince this board why they should invest money here. And then, of course, then you have the city, which you need to convince why this city itself needs a new hospital or a new school. So too many decision makers need a lot of data to argue for them. Like that data could be images, could be like literally tabular data or design briefs or whatever that is needed. And most of the time today is just like spent in doing this instead of like just taking your idea and presenting it in the way in which you can get the validation instantly.
I want to touch on the product launch, Altaf, because one thing when I was talking to you a few weeks ago was I was very interested in your approach to the marketing around this and how you got the message out, and I think it involved you using a lot of more influencer type of brands to spread the message, and it's like a very bold approach actually. So what was the thinking behind that?
I think in very simple words, we are a startup, so we have our own reach of audience, and whatever we launch will get in front of those people. But how do we go beyond that? You have to capture other people's audience, and that's where influencers comes in. Like, they have taken their entire career in building an audience, and if they like us, and genuinely these people like SnapTrue because they've used SnapTrue, tried it out, and they genuinely believe that the AEC industry needs better authoring tool, and they're glad to partner with us, and we are able to tell the story together to their audience as well as other people.
Wonderful.
By the way, an interesting anecdote. So I've seen some of those influencer promoted videos promoting SnapTrue. I think some of the users who commented on those videos actually thought, for the extent of functionality that they were getting from SnapTrue, they thought the price was so much of a throwaway. They were wondering if there's like a typo, etc., in the pricing.
Damn. Good. Hey.
Yes.
Nice. Very good. Hey.
Well, when you do SnapTrue for structures, just call me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll do it for everyone. Yeah.
Hey, Altaf.
Vibe civil engineering.
Do you have another 5 minutes, Altaf?
Yes, I have.
Do you want to end? Should we end this on a meme?
What's the meme?
Sure.
I'm so behind with these things.
Well, I actually have to blame Shub for this because he triggered a receptor in my brain, which brought this back to my conscious mind.
Yeah, that's just what I do. It's just how I roll.
Can you see it?
Only jobs left in the future.
I like it.
So you're saying data labor? Who is data laborer?
Look at the guy in the cage.
That's the person.
That's you in 10 years' time.
For sure, I can assure you that that's not me.
What do we think? Agree?
I don't know if the vibe coder will exist, right? Because the venture capital will just ask what they want and it gets built.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry, Martin, you're the meme coin trader, not the data labeler.
Not really.
Sometimes I wonder if most venture capitalists are actually data labelers.
So, Owen, why is it meant to be funny?
Well, from my perspective, I think that this is just like an image which sums up the echo chamber in the age of AI, really, and current situation of the world of tech. Firstly, the venture capitalist. I think that, I mean, you can probably guess who that picture of that person is. But this was a very famous venture capitalist saying that I think that AI would not kill. VC would be one of the only professions that remains, something along those lines.
Because they have intuition.
Yes.
The vibe coder one is obviously
a lot of other professions also have intuition. Like,
yeah. I mean, the vibe coder one we just discussed. Data labeler. I mean, yeah. And meme coin trader. Well, if you bought the Grok coin, maybe or no, or something along those lines.
But on the serious side of this, like, I think the statement that AI will replace jobs is very, very theoretical and unfounded. I think like it's people who have actually not really done the real work talk about things this way. Like they don't know what goes in actually like doing things, like building a software product versus designing a building. All of those are like very long, enduring tasks. Like you can't expect just AI to come in and do everything. Like the best one I have, the take which I've seen was from this video which came on the Y Combinator day from Andrej Karapathy. Like he used to be in OpenAI. Like that video really summarizes how just in software engineering, vibe coding can give you prototypes, but to write actually production grade code which works in the hands of thousands of users across all the time zones, like takes effort. You can't expect AI to keep writing that code.
Yeah, we're definitely not there yet.
So I think none of us will, or maybe I was just speak for myself. I wasn't around in 2003, 4, 1, 2, when the internet boom happened and bust and happened. But in this time, or maybe even before, and this time, did people think that that internet will take jobs? I guess there was similar way of thinking. Similar way of thinking that suddenly there will be like lots of professions which will evaporate, but it wasn't the case, and we still around 3-4% of unemployment certain like Western regions. So
well, I should probably
you'll have those 4 jobs which you showed in the meme. Like everybody will do one of those.
Yeah.
But actually, no, probably create jobs. I mean, the internet will probably create more jobs in some respects. So, there's a lot more.
I mean, I always like to think, when questions like this come up, I think Patric may know what I'm going to say. There was once a discussion on which has had the more profound impact on humanity. Is it the internet or the washing machine? Right? Okay, Owen, you're like thinking really hard about this.
I mean, think about it, that every single time you dirty your clothes, you have to go to the river and clean them.
How inconvenient is that?
Yeah. Altaf, what do you think?
I haven't lived in an era where there were no washing machines, so I've taken it for granted.
I mean, okay, that was not my implication. I'm not that old, guys.
Sorry, we can't relate. We're not as old as you.
Yeah,
man.
should we kick these oldies out of here? Altaf, Martin, carry on discussion.
Okay, so I'll skip ahead, at least to what I've read and why I stick to this answer. So the internet enabled, of course, a whole lot of people, and it's very profound to state the obvious. But the washing machine, especially, it started going mainstream in Western societies from the 1950s, more or less. It allowed women who were previously almost completely unrepresented in the workforce to actually go from being homemakers to actually participate in the workforce.
Wow.
In the beginning, there was some worry that this would lead to wide-scale unemployment because now you suddenly have way more people available in the job market and maybe not enough jobs. But what actually was found is actually that led to a tremendous boom phase, as of course we know, starting in the 50s, because your productivity dramatically improved, and the workforce that was trapped, they were just doing work that was very unproductive or not as productive. And now they're being very productively engaged. I would like to imagine something similar will happen as we unlock more and more enablers of productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also this period is it's difficult to analyze because there was also baby boomers generation after the wars and peace everywhere, then like global trade agreements, all of this. But yeah, Altaf, why don't you build SnapTrue on Lovable to replace Autodesk?
If I could, I would.
Why is it not possible?
Like the truthful and the real answer is, like, there are theoretical prototypes and there's production grade software. Like Lovable, you can just like build small prototypey solutions in a matter of like minutes, and even those like barely work when you actually like really want to try it. If you want to build production grade software that you need to design buildings and take decisions, takes tens of thousands of hours of work, which has to be put in. You have to handle edge cases. You have to test it. You have to keep reviewing things if you want to build on top of it. I don't think AI systems will compound enough in the next few years to get to a point where they can write an enterprise grade software. But those are like cute little tools which you can prototype your ideas very quickly. Like, so actually our engineering team does not use Lovable, but our product team uses, our design team uses. Because if they want to communicate to our engineers, they'll like quickly build a prototype and say, hey, this is how I want you to build the feature. Then they convert that prototype into like something which actually works.
I think the issue is that people are have the perception that, Lovable can build like production scale apps. And that's the issue. There's a use case for it, like exactly how you just said, Altaf, but not as it's currently being advertised. Okay, should we wrap up, guys? That was fun.
Yeah, I really need some time to spend with Lovable now.
Oh, if we go. I'm going to prototype next week's episode.
I didn't try to convince you.
Yeah, I'm going to first rebuild my own company and then SnapTrue and then Bricks and Bytes. Will take me 4 hours.
Don't touch that one.
I'll do the data labeling.
Thank you, sir. Vibe capitalist, no, Altaf, I think you're just describing the status quo of venture capital. It's just vibe capital all the way, man.
Vibecapitalist.com. Yeah. All right.
You know, the famous Sequoia Invests in FTX story. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. It's a fun read. I love this founder. We should invest, bro. Okay. Cool.
Damn. All right, guys. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure, guys.
Thank you.